Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daily Triple. I'm your host, Casey at Niners_fanman. Follow me on socials. And today we've got a story, or what I would say is a non-story, because I knew that this was already the case, but I'm finding out today that the rest of the country had no idea this was the case. We're talking about the QB quote unquote controversy in San Francisco at the 49ers complex. Let's talk about their depth chart here and what this report has today. First off, the headline says new report shows how far Trey Lance has fallen with the 49ers. I suppose that is true. That's not misleading exactly, but that's maybe not how I would describe it. Let's dive into this a little bit more. We'll read some of this article, and then I'll also just give you some of my thoughts as we go, because this is one of the things where I'm pretty knowledgeable on, even compared to a lot of the reports that come out, because a lot of times they're doing minimal kind of investigating, and if you follow a team closely enough, you know almost as much as some of the beat writers, honestly. It won't be as sweet to be third now, referring to Lance, the number 3 overall pick in the 2021 draft, and how he's fallen out of favor entirely with the 49ers, who will likely list him as the third player on the team's quarterback depth chart behind Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. This coming from Adam Schefter, said on the Pat McAfee show. I believe that was yesterday, Wednesday, this week. So Lance has slipped to third on the depth chart at QB, reportedly here. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago on one of our football episodes, and maybe even before that. This is exactly how I saw it going. I mean, you got Brock Purdy on the roster, and in my eyes, he did enough last season. We saw what we needed to see from him. I believe he was 5-0 during the regular season as a starter. That's not even counting the other win, the first win that he had when Jimmy went out pretty early in a game against the Dolphins, a really good team last year. Brock Purdy led the 49ers to a win there too. So even though he didn't start that one, he played most of the game, and I don't even know that they had a lead or a big lead in that game at the time. So Brock Purdy led them to 6 regular season victories, and then multiple in the playoffs as well. They went to the NFC Championship game. So this guy has done everything he needed to do. On top of that, he was a rookie quarterback, last pick of the draft. So expectations were super low. He super exceeded them. He's on a cheap contract, and he looks like a guy who can be a starter in the league. Is he the best quarterback in the league? No, nobody's saying that. But is he better than what they're used to? Jimmy Garoppolo? Most people are saying that he is, and he's on a much friendlier contract to the team, and they've got him locked up for a couple of years still. I love this guy. I think he's really the guy for the job there in San Francisco. He's still young. He's going to get better. Sure, defenses have the tape on him a little bit now, but it's not like defenses had any kind of answer for him last year, and he wasn't just using athleticism to make plays like a lot of the guys who get figured out in their sophomore season tend to look like. No, Brock Purdy was reading the field well. He was rolling out to avoid the sack. He wasn't overutilizing his legs. Maybe you'd like to see him kind of just be even quicker with his response time and throw the ball away instead of like trying to extend plays so much, because we don't want to see him get hurt. If you're a Niners fan, that is. But the main wrinkle in this is that Sam Darnold signed with the 49ers. You can tell I'm not really reading too much of this article because, like I said, I've been well acquainted with every installation of this story. So Sam Darnold signed with the 49ers on the first day of free agency. Now, I want you to think about that. Trey Lance was the starter coming into last season. He was the third pick in the previous year's draft before that, okay? He's the starter. He's the guy. Jimmy G wasn't even supposed to be there. He stayed with the team on kind of a technicality, weird thing. Of course, Jimmy comes in for relief of Lance, but Lance was supposed to be the guy. Then Jimmy goes down. Brock Purdy comes in for relief of Garoppolo, and he sets the world on fire. They go on this crazy run. But Trey Lance was supposed to be the guy, right? Over the course of that winning streak and through the playoffs, Brock Purdy actually ascended to number 1 on the depth chart. But he also ruptured or pulled he tore the UCL in his elbow, and he almost had to get full-on Tommy John surgery. I think he got some sort of less invasive procedure to deal with that in a different way, a kind of a workaround type of procedure, not a full-on rebuild of the whole thing. They kind of did something. I'm no doctor, but they did a different kind of procedure where it would more or less heal on its own in a way that he would be fine after a while. That's the quicker route, and the Niners and Brock Purdy thought that was probably the right route for them. And it makes sense because that allows Purdy, if he stays on the timetable he should be on for recovery, that should allow him to be able to start the first game of the season, again, with an optimistic timetable. He should be fine to play by then, but maybe you want to see him have a couple more weeks of practice before you throw him out there. Okay, so it makes sense for Purdy to do it and the Niners because they want him starting at quarterback. But is it possible that in the meantime somebody else could take over the starting role? All the signs that we've seen coming out of camp from the 49ers point to no. Purdy is the guy. So we've learned a little bit here over the this kind of last month time frame. It seems like Brock Purdy's timetable is holding up. It seems like the kind of conservative timetable they set, it seems like that's actually going to come to fruition. He more than likely will be ready to play by week 1. So we're actually talking about the two guys that are active at OTAs and when we go into training camp, the guys who will be active immediately and able to throw, they're actually competing more for a backup role. Now, this is what I mentioned on our recent football episode, is that if you know Brock Purdy is the starter and you have two options between Sam Darnold and Trey Lance on who your backup could be, I would say 10 times out of 10, the right backup is Sam Darnold. Because if Brock Purdy goes down, he's not able to play for whatever reason, you can bring Sam Darnold in. He's extremely similar in play style. He might even have a more accurate and stronger arm because he is a former first-round talent. Let's not forget about Darnold. And Sam Darnold's been in the NFL. Sure, we've seen all the memes. He's seen Ghost out there. He's had some terrible performances. He's been on some awful teams. But he has also shown some good stuff, and he's shown progression as well. So this is a guy who's a little bit more used to NFL speed and reading NFL defenses. He's a much better option as a backup quarterback to Brock Purdy, who's very young and has only had a half a year of experience in the league. Sam Darnold's going to be able to help this guy prepare. He's going to be a better veteran guy as the number 2 spot, and that's the main thing you're looking for. Plus, I think in a pinch, if he steps in, he'll perform just as well or probably better than Lance, assuming that nothing else on the offense changes when the number 2 quarterback comes in. Now, that being said, there's also proof of this in the pudding. The Niners signed Sam Darnold on the first day of free agency. That means he's a priority free agency. That means they have plans for him. He's not just supposed to be the QB3. So this writing has always been on the wall. I don't know where people got confused on this. That's why I said this is a non-story story, but I have to tell everybody anyway because they don't seem to know about it. So Lance is the QB3, at least right now, barring some kind of incredible play in the offseason, the preseason coming up to the season time. He'll be the number 3 quarterback. There's been reports about, maybe they'll seek a trade with him. I don't think that's going to happen for 2 reasons. One, seems like his trade market is pretty dead, which you get. You haven't seen a lot of him. He hasn't played football really in a significant way for 3-4 years at this point because of the pandemic and how he couldn't play his last year in college. And then he basically redshirted in the NFL, and then he got hurt last year. So he's pretty far removed, and I think he's only played something like, 15, 20 games since high school. He's not the guy you want to pin the whole franchise on at this point, but he's a more than capable QB3, so why not just keep him on the roster? He's also on a cost-controlled contract, so he actually fits pretty well at QB3 for the Niners. If they have 2 injuries again, he's a much better option than, going to like a Josh Johnson. So I like the idea of him staying in the Bay with the Niners, and he can be their QB3. Maybe he plays his way into the backup role, or maybe even into the starter role. Who knows? Anything could happen. If Purdy can ascend to the QB1 role, Lance could do it this year. But my bet is Purdy comes back. He's healthy enough to play early in the season, whether that's week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, something like that. If we need a spot starter, Sam Darnold will likely be the guy. I think Sam Darnold's future in San Francisco is actually very good. He could be the long-term backup option there. Unless he plays his way into a starting job somewhere else. It's a perfect chemistry with the scheme of Kyle Shanahan for Sam Darnold to come in. He's known as kind of a big brain quarterback, and he can handle a lot schematically. At least that's his kind of his calling card, and he's got all the arm talent in the world. And Shanahan hasn't always needed super athletic guys at the quarterback position. You could actually say he's had pretty poor results with guys like that when you look at Lance. So Lance has started 4 games at quarterback over 2 years, totaling 797 yards in the air and 235 yards on the ground. That's not really what you're looking for out of a quarterback. You want to see, you don't want to run that much. That is kind of how the tale came to be that Lance was hurt. So up on the top again, you're seeing the 2021 third overall draft pick who got supplanted. Is that the word? Supplanted by Brock Purdy, the last pick of the 2022 draft last year. Pretty interesting story, but like I said, I thought everybody was pretty up to date on all this stuff. Here you can see Purdy in his 5 games that he started. He threw for 1,374 yards and 13 touchdowns. I mean, that's only one more game than Lance, and the stats are incredibly in Purdy's favor. I don't know how anybody could have seen this situation and said that Purdy wasn't going to come in and be the starter again this year, barring health. Here's a look at Sam Darnold on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube. By the way, if you're listening on a podcast app like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, remember to rate and review us. Give us 5 stars, please. If you listen this far into this recording, you probably liked it. So go ahead and drop me 5 stars. Leave a review telling me what you like about this kind of format or about our longer form format of the Triple Cross podcast. I'd love to hear your feedback on that stuff. If you are watching on YouTube, you're able to see some pictures on the screen as well as the article that I'm referencing as I talk through this. And if you'd like to jump into the conversation yourself, head on over to YouTube and jump in the comment section. Also, while you're there, hit a like on the button for the video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell icon to get notifications for whenever we go live so that you can jump in on our live podcast recordings where we do tons of giveaways and you might win yourself something cool. So, guys, let me know what you think. Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, that's the QB depth for the San Francisco 49ers. I think they've got it the right way as of now, and we all know that this team needs a little bit of depth when it comes to the quarterback position because we know what happened last year. They went and ruined 4 different quarterbacks over the course of the season and the postseason, and they were left without a quarterback who could throw the ball. So we don't want to see that happen again. Here's hoping good health to all these guys, and hopefully Purdy is the only quarterback we need to see all season, and he flourishes. I hope the best for this young man. And Lance, maybe he evolves into a great backup or a starter somewhere else. And off chance, he still could be the starter for the 49ers going forward. A lot has yet to be written about this tale, and I can't wait to see what happens next. But we'll just have to hang out and see what happens. Guys, this has been the Daily Triple. I've been Casey at Niners_fanman. Follow me on socials, and I'll catch you in the next clip.